Yes, yes. Brother Cornell West, happy birthday to him. 70 years old.
Ooh,
Yes.
I got time then. Yeah, still got time.
Yes, yes. And an issue that I'm sure would be dear to the heart of Brother Cornell is what's going on in Texas right now. I really wanted to highlight this particular story because, look,
Let's talk about it.
uh, the since the election, we all know that the right wing has gone on a sort of a rampage about elections being illegitimate, and even before that, they tried to say. I remember going back to the Acorn scandal with Obama and the idea that all these other elections were illegitimate,
Uh-huh.
but especially since the loss of Donald Trump, the right wing seems to be going into hyperdrive. Now I have to give some context to this particular story. That for the last 5 months, the Democrats and state legislators have been scraping to do everything they can to stop new voting restrictions from Republicans. Now they haven't been able to do much about the new voting restrictions in places like Arizona, Georgia, Florida, Iowa, and Montana, where Republicans have used their majorities to ram through these bills. But late on Sunday night, something different happened in Texas, with Republicans on the verge of passing one of the most restrictive new voting laws in the country. Democrats in the State House of Representatives, let me do that again, walked out of the legislature, denying Republicans a quorum and killing the legislation. This is what they had to say about that.
They don't want you to know the truth on that bill. They don't want you to know how they don't want to see you at the polls. They don't want you to know that you have rights. But we're going to be your voice. We're going to speak up and be that person for you so that your voice will not be silenced and they will hear from you.
They were prepared to cut us off and try to silence us. We were not going to let them do that. And that's why Democrats used the last tool available to us. We denied them the quorum that they need to pass this bill, and we killed that bill. Yeah! Souls to the polls is sacred. Republicans were determined to take that away by changing the hours of which you could have early voting on Sunday. So no longer could you leave church and immediately go to the polling place. You'd have to wait a few hours in between. And so then, when you did make it, there'd be a big line there waiting. Well, what does that do? That's a vote suppression tactic. And that's what we've been saying all along. This legislation was designed to suppress the votes of Texans, in particular Texans of color.
Yesterday afternoon, the President of the United States talked about Texas. Of all the things that could be on the mind of our Commander-in-Chief, he has taken a moment to talk about SB 7 and how it is un-American. And we knew today, with the eyes of the nation watching actions in Austin, that we needed to send a message. And that message is very, very clear. Mr. President, we need a national response to federal voting rights.
Okay, so really, let's get down into what the issue is. These Democrats are begging the U.S. Senate to pass the For the People Act, an expansive bill that would set national standards for voting, including requirements for early voting, automatic same-day registration, and as well as limit manipulation of political districts for partisan gain. This came because in Texas, what they're trying to do is they're trying to put restrictions on a lot of the voting laws that you have already. They're trying to bar drop boxes, 24-hour and drive-through voting, curtail early voting on Sundays, a day widely known to be popular among Black voters who cast their ballots after church. We all know what's going on. It's basically the political cat and mouse game that we have, where it's based on this really false belief that high turnouts, particularly like high turnouts hurt Republicans always. That's what the sort of belief is, and so the Republicans have sort of resigned themselves to trying to curtail high voter turnout, in different places. And the Democrats, on the other hand, are trying to get they want as many people to vote, especially in black neighborhoods and minority communities, under the false belief that demographics is destiny. Now, we saw that in 2020, that was found not to be the case, as the majority of Donald Trump's voters were women and minorities. But still, these sort of perceptions are causing both parties to sort of act in a way that is basically trying to protect their own interest in that way, as opposed to doing what is best for the American public. I know you probably have a lot to say about this, Rebel.
Well, I must admit, I've always been curious because I thought that, the better idea draws the most votes.
Right.
Of course, if you don't think you got a good idea, if you've got no idea to actually present, then I guess you have to try to game the system. I think that it's foolish for the GOP to go that route if they honestly believe that their ideas are the better ideas.
Mm.
I think we are at a season where people, for example, here in Gary, people are very much interested in what you're going to do if we give you this office. If we put you in this office, what are you going to do with it? What are your plans? What is your vision? And if you have no vision, that's not a crime. But don't run for office if you don't have a plan and a vision. Don't get involved in public service if you don't have a reason other than it's a cushy paycheck.
Right.
Please, have self-respect.
Right.
Have respect for your fellow citizens. Don't get into this line of work unless you really have something to bring to the table. Now, having said that, I also recognize that there are two basic ways of looking at the work of government. I ascribe to the theory that the most important work is what happens locally.
Mm.
I am much more concerned about what happens at the level of city, county, and state government than I am at the level of federal government. So that tends to push me in a conservative direction. But if you happen to think that everything that's important happens in Washington, D.C., then, the Democratic Party, they're your guys. They're your people. But at the same time, they also want to concentrate power there. And I have a problem with that because folk in Washington, D.C. don't know Gary, Indiana. The only thing they know about Gary is what they see on YouTube.
Well, I hope that's not the case.
But it is. It is.
Yeah.
It's just like even here in the state of Indiana. People who don't spend any time in Gary have an image of Gary, Indiana that at best was true 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
Or might be true occasionally or in certain neighborhoods in particular. But it doesn't reflect the whole city. It really doesn't. But that's what they've got in their head. And so they think of Gary and they talk about Gary. And if they're in politics, they govern when it comes to Gary. Just look at what happened with the whole school district situation. We're the only school district in the state where the residents have no say-so over what goes on. We're not the only school district that had financial troubles.
We are not.
We're not the only school district in the state that was struggling with debt.
Nope.
But we're the only one where they said the only solution is, you all go home and let us take care of things for you.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree with you there. It really is. It goes back to, like I said, this sort of, and it's been like this probably maybe since the Civil War, this idea of, trying to gerrymander and sort of suppress votes in the black community. But like I said, the problem with the logic is it isn't even really it really doesn't even shake out that way. Like Donald Trump was very close to winning re-election. Very close. He was only, I think, 45,000 votes in, I think, 3 different states or 4 different states, spread out over 3 or 4 different states, should I say, from being president again.
Huh.
And yeah, like I said, Donald Trump did exceedingly well in losing this election. The media makes it seem like he was roundly beaten, and that's just not the truth. He wasn't roundly beaten. Joe Biden barely won that election in spite of the fact that the entirety of the media was on his side. The entirety of Hollywood, the music industry, the elites in our country were all on his side, and Donald Trump still almost won. And like I said, did better with minorities than any Republican had in 60 years. I think the GOP is going to live to regret sort of going out of their way to alienate black people.
Yeah.
I think they're really going to regret that because, you know, me personally, as a leftist, I would never vote for them. But a lot of black people are the most religious group of people in this country. Hispanics are number 2. Donald Trump won Spanish-speaking counties in Texas, where they're at right now. So just saying that, oh man, where those, you know, Mexicans are and those black people are, we're not gonna do well with them. So we might as well try to make life harder for them. I mean, they would be better off saying, look, you know, the liberals are trying to force political correctness on you, which the black community and Hispanic community do not support. I always like to laugh and joke about how only 3% of Hispanic people use the term Latinx, but you see it used in the media all the time. Oh, Latinx, when actual Hispanic people don't use the term. There's a lot of things, whether it's abortion, LGBTQ issues, that blacks, Hispanics, on average, working class whites have not fully embraced, that the Democratic Party seem to be intent on ramming down everyone's throat. Like the Republicans would be better off, instead of trying to alienate people, sort of appealing to the fact that you have this real militant cultural left in this country that, you know, I like to call them the clown left. You know, you have the clown left, the people out there who were doing naked yoga at the riots, the George Floyd riots, the people who were out there in Portland and Seattle fighting with the police for 80, 90 days. Black people don't claim them.
Right.
We don't claim, like, we didn't have any rioting at all here in Gary. We were the blackest city in America. Yeah. We don't claim those people. Those people are not. And there's this perception that, once again, that Democrat, or should I say the clown left or anything left, automatically represents black people, when you know, and I know, that is definitely not the truth.
Right.
Oh, crap. Oh, man. We have to go to a break again. Oh, we got to pay some bills, folks.
Got to do that.
Please give us a call, 219-885-1371. That number again is 219-885-1371. We got to talk about Bill Cosby. This is a really sad story. When we get back here on Issues and Answers on WLTH,